right. I think we're good. All right, we're back with another episode, but first the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Check out a complete list of all the sponsors there. I'm going to rattle a few off to thank some people because I appreciate all the help. We're going to crack those drinks. Don't make me laugh. I want to thank Rhino Metals, Blackwater Ammunition, Galco, Leather Holsters, Gallo Technologies, and of course, Inforce Weapon Lights. Do it in the dark. Go check them out if you haven't bought a weapon light. Go buy some Inforce. Pulsar, thermal imaging technologies coming down in price. Go check out Pulsar. Appreciate all the sponsors. Couldn't do it without them. Go check some of those guys out. Right On Optics, Kenzie's, and of course, Full Quartzen. Got a special guest today. I'm excited. I don't get this many opportunities to rap with people that I consider contemporaries, and I'm proud to call them sometimes colleagues even. We got the one and only Austin Legg.
What's up?
Now, you've done this show before.
Yeah.
We're in the studio, though, for the first time. What do you think?
It's unreal, man. I'm looking around just like, oh, I want that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Like, there's some cool stuff going on.
Like, every guy should have a room like this.
Oh, amen. I'm going to have to build. I'm building a house right now.
Ooh.
And I'm now getting some serious inspiration here. This is fantastic.
Yeah, every guy needs a room like this. This can be a barn. It can be a warehouse. We'll call it a trophy room. I know Bert Soren has a really good cave area that he has set up, but I think that the possibilities are endless when you have imaginations like ours.
Amen, dude.
You know?
Yeah, Bert, I've spent some time in Bert Soren's cave, and that place really got my...
He's doing it right over there. He knows he needs those hiding spots. I love you, Bert.
Yep.
So I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody over at Sorenex. Thank you, Bert.
Yep.
But yeah, no, so listen, it's been a while. Yeah. What have you been up to?
Oh, man. I've been doing all kinds of stuff. I recently branched out on my own, started my own little marketing, media, content creation business. Yeah. And it was exciting for me because I'm like, this is something I'm actually kind of good at, something I enjoy. And there's a huge, massive hole right now in the industry. And so...
For marketing consultants, you think? You think?
Man.
You think?
The gun industry, it's like...
What put you into that impression?
Yeah, exactly.
My geniuses out there on LinkedIn. My geniuses.
Take one trip to SHOT Show and you'll understand.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's become so comical. I'm not going to get into the who in the company, but they've been on this show that like companies have circled back with people after years, and they're like, we just want to work with somebody that gets stuff done.
Yeah. And so it's been good for me. So doing my own thing, and been about to build a house. I have a lot going on right now, man. It's been good. But
that's good.
It's nice because I get to stay in the industry a little bit. You know, I get to keep a foot in,
a toe. Yeah.
But I don't have my life signed away to anybody.
Right.
So I can actually have like an objective opinion.
Well, this industry is still so juvenile, and you know this, that we're still in that stage where companies would rather pay more for a consultant, and you're actually better off doing it that way. It's so easy because the companies and most of the owners, they're stupid, and they don't even know what marketing is.
Yeah, and actually the consulting side of it is something I really enjoy because for the most part, the whole reason people bring you on is to hear your opinion, like hear what you think and get that like fresh outside perspective. So many times when you work at a place, you might have really good ideas and your ideas might be valid, but because you're a part of the organization, people just are like, hey, you need to stay in your lane, you know?
Well, they say present the same idea over and over and you'll have a job. Present a new one and you'll lose it. So, you know, and we could beat up on the business all day, but it is kind of interesting that it's more advantageous to be a consultant than actually work for anybody. So to all my geniuses on LinkedIn, the ownership geniuses, you should pay attention to that. They'd rather pay $2 more to replace someone than to pay them what they think they're worth when they're good, and they should pay them when they're good.
I saw a really interesting dialogue just the other day on either Instagram or Facebook. It was a new kind of up and coming, kind of young firearm company, and they manufacture, PCCs like 9 mils, and cool guns. I like them. I'd probably get one eventually. But the comment they made was, "Which influencer would you guys like to see us work with?" And I'm like, oh, this ought to be good. So I hop in the comment section. I'm reading through it, and it's just like probably 90% of the comments are like, no influencers, be original, create your own content, like hammering it. And so I think we're in a really cool spot right now.
Right.
I know we crap on the industry quite a bit, but here's the reality. At some point, you got to come out with new, fresh, good ideas. And just giving guns to girls that are pretty isn't doing it anymore. And
ouch.
And I think that, and we know that, right? I mean, we should have known
Shocker.
that 2 or 3 years ago, but now general public knows that.
Right.
And so to actually see people weren't like, hey, use this guy, use her, use it. It was like, no, do it yourself. And I was like, hey, now we're talking.
Right.
Because that's what I like to do. I like to help brands come up with that, that marketing plan and that content.
Well, and I think you and I have talked about this. I think a lot of the barrier, and I get what you're saying about shitting on the industry, but I think the barrier is you're kind of forced into these archetypes that people have in their mind, or bosses or people that are the quote unquote decision makers. Like, it needs to look this way, right? And the problem is they're not thinking with the end in mind. They're not thinking where the content is going to go, what audience they're talking to, where they want that content to live and breathe. They always think it always starts with a mag dump in the desert. And my thing to that is always, well, where does that play? Yeah. Like, where are we doing that? And we're just going to do content. There's no thinking of like, hey, we need to do newsletter pieces. We need to do a LinkedIn piece. We need to do this. We need to stay in focused areas and speak to our audience, and listen to our audience. And I think that forces them down the other path by not going that way. It forces them down that other path of like, we need a big name. We need to go viral.
Yeah, we need a Chuck Norris.
And you love the viral comment, right? Like in the it's like that's not a plan.
No, and the problem with going viral is we live in a 24-hour news cycle, and something new is going viral every 10 minutes.
Oh.
There's a new TikTok dance, there's a new whatever. And your attention span's this big, and then boom, the next thing happens, and then boom, the next thing happens. Going viral is not the answer. And
you know this from working with brands. This industry has I would say the other biggest barrier. It has a misunderstanding, a poor relationship with what things actually cost. Like they want to say, we'll send you a bag, or we'll do this, or there's a disconnect in terms of what is reality. Like if I go to the range, that's $1,000 a day. Like, who's paying for that? And they just think like everything's supposed to just happen. Like, we'll send this guy a muzzle brake and he'll post it and it's going to be magical.
Yeah. His Instagram handle is GY6vids. Andrew, do you know Andrew? He has a fantastic YouTube channel, and I was talking to Andrew the other day, and he's a excellent photographer, excellent product photographer, and he was sending me some pictures of some guns and stuff that he'd recently been photographing, and he said, yeah, if so-and-so company wants to buy these, this is kind of the price I do it for. And he's like, when I do that, then I remove my watermark and they have all the rights to use it. And I was like, that's awesome, man. Good for you. Like, I'm happy that he has found a way to monetize what he's good at. But the problem is, and I told him this, I said, the problem is there are way too many people out there willing to do the same thing, maybe not quite at that level, but close, for free. Right. And they're willing to do it to have, their Instagram handle tagged in the comment or, tagged in the photo. And his, the comment he kept making is like, I know my worth, and companies are going to pay for that. And I love that. I'm like, dude, yes. And, going to what you were saying, companies need to have a realistic expectation of time and, resource management,
right,
things like that. But at the same time, the, quote unquote influencers or whoever it is out there, helping create these the content for them needs to know their value, and they need to expect the companies to reward them for the value added.
You're absolutely right. And I think, part of there's a lot of little disconnects, right? And we can go down a rabbit hole with this, but there's a lot of disconnects between what the reality is of the industry we're in, what we're able to do, what we can actually accomplish, and what we're doing. I mean, for a long time, the extent of most of these companies' marketing was Instagram.
Totally.
And there's a lot of brands that start out that way because they think that's the only place we can do anything.
Yeah.
So they design their whole, I say, you don't have a marketing team. You have an Instagram management.
Social media.
Yeah, you have even. The social media would be too generous. Yeah. And how many times we've seen that. And most of them go out and they hire a photographer and they say he's going to run our Instagram too. And then I'll ask them the question. You and I have talked about this. I'll say, where's your largest audience? And they'll be like, oh, on Instagram, we got 100,000 people. We're huge. So you put the employee you pay the least and value the least in charge of the largest chunk of your audience.
Yep.
That makes sense on what planet?
Yep.
So there's a lot of little disconnects.
Totally.
And you know, the hunting community is even worse. Even worse.
Yeah.
Vile offender.
Yeah. No, you're spot on, man. That's a conversation I have with people regularly is when you're like, okay, like tell me about your marketing plan. And the first thing they say is Instagram. And I'm like, well, what else? What's your email?
We got a newsletter.
What's your email list look like? And how do you use it?
Yeah.
Oh, you send out one email a year. Like, you know, there's a variety of things and you just have to like people just need to understand that social media is a sliver of the whole big picture.
I was on the phone with a big executive at a very large firearms manufacturer. I had breakfast with him actually at SHOT Show. And I asked him one question about his marketing director. I said, what's their plan? Exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get an answer.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how much staff do you have? And proudly he said 17 people. So when the owner asked me what I thought, I said, you got a marketing director that's very proud that he has 17 people underneath him, but doesn't have a plan.
Yeah. What do you have to show for it?
What do they do? He doesn't know what 18 people. So basically, this is what I said to the owner. I said, so basically, you're telling me at this point, as an owner, you have 18 people under you that you don't know what they're doing.
Now, and I'm sure you could do this too. I could point out specific companies who I feel like are doing it right. Okay, who are cutting edge, who have a plan, who have the right people in the right places and their values in the right places, and we could look at those people and say, like, look at their success. They're not the ones right now who are struggling through the pandemic, right? They're the ones who crushed it, who had their biggest year ever, right? Take Sorinex, for example. Oh. Look at anything they do. It is awesome, right? Sorinex is the Black Rifle coffee of the strength world right now. That's a big statement, but I'll stand by that. You know what I mean?
I think Bert has a willingness, though, to do things. Bert Soren, now at Sorinex, his willingness to do things that other people don't do. Yeah. And that's what sets him apart, and that's what makes him different. And he's marketing a commercial product in many ways, and that's cool. And you don't see that often. So from that standpoint, I really applaud him. You know, I think, like I said, it's present the same old idea over and over again. There's that unwillingness to be different. And we see that in the organizations that are supposed to be policing us or managing us. It's always a new buzzword. It's the same old thing. Act now. You know, your help is needed, urgent. Yeah. So it's always, sell on the extreme, sell on the sense of urgency, sell on the fear, instead of building something that you can actually stand on that makes sense.
Dude, okay, I got a serious question.
Shoot.
And I actually ran into this about a week ago, and I'm wondering if I'm the only person that has run into this or had this thought. There was a product that I wanted to buy. I won't dime this guy out.
With money.
Yeah, I actually buy most of my stuff
with money.
Yeah, but so there's a product I want to buy, and I don't know what your funnel, your purchase funnel looks like, but for me, I like to look at social media because I kind of like want to get an idea of how are people using this, and maybe not how it looks, but like how it's performing. Like, here's some comments, read the comment section, some of that stuff. So maybe 5 years ago, the first place you'd go is Google and read like Google reviews or go on the website.
Okay, I'll buy
reviews,
that.
Right? So I feel like it's kind of like transitioning my purchase funnel, if you will. Okay, so I go on social media. They haven't made a post for 2 years. Oh. Is that a red flag to you?
Yes, now, I would say yes.
Me too. Okay, so I look at it. I'm like, okay, last post was like 2 years ago. Here's my next thought. Is this company still in business? And if I buy something through the website, is it actually going to ship? I didn't end up buying it. I didn't even message them because I'm like, well, they're probably not responding to DMs. I'm not actually going to email these guys. I'm not going to call them.
You go down an interesting...
You know what I'm saying?
An interesting, hole. Keep going because I like where you're going with this.
So I think basically where I'm going is I think in the last couple of years, we've seen consumer buying behavior change. Okay. The research we used to do might have been YouTube might have been whatever, right? Google, magazines, newspapers, going back
I would
even
say
further.
we're both old. Fair enough to lay down the playing field. We're both old enough to remember newspapers and magazines and things like that.
Yeah.
So I know
loved
people, to everybody listening, like nobody does that anymore.
Man.
But I would say then it evolved a little bit towards what you're starting to say, which is like the Facebook, YouTube, Google web. But keep going.
Sometimes trying to find an answer on YouTube is difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're wanting to find, like, let's say you're trying to find like something very specific about a gun or a backpack or whatever. It can be hard to find. So you go to the website. Maybe you're looking on the website. Well, a company I used to work for, we used a software to remove all 1- and 2-star reviews. Okay. So any review you saw on the website was 3 stars and up. Are those reviews valid anymore? You're only seeing positive reviews. You're not seeing the 1 and 2 stars.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, I can't go to the website. It's hard to find on, YouTube or Google or whatever. So social media makes sense. Let's see what other people's experiences are. If you're a company and you haven't done anything for 2 years, are you now irrelevant?
The answer is yes.
I think so too.
The answer is yes. And the reason the social media plays into it is because you're looking for a company that's active and you're looking for something that you can grow with. Because I think what you get at is a greater question, which is, what is this brand?
Yeah,
really?
exactly.
Like, is this a real brand?
Yeah.
Now, do you have to post every day, and do you have to have Nike-like content for me to be like, okay, like I want to do business with them or I want to buy their product? No. I think you can find a lot of diamonds in the rough, but if you're not willing to take pride in a post a week, how about that? Let's go there.
Years?
A post a week, or at least maybe you click on the tags and they're tagged a lot.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll say this as a disclaimer. If there's one post, right? There's only one post. I'll click and I'll look and I'll see what they're tagged in. It might be like, something where they don't put a lot of time and effort into social.
Yeah.
But you can see them tagged in 9,000 things. But you can tell those brands, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You can usually tell those brands. Yeah. They just haven't developed that. That's rare too.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
You make a good point.
Man, it was a thought I was having the other day, and I was like,
you're not wrong.
It's different.
I wonder what everyone else would say, but I would say, if I haven't seen anything on them in social, I would say
I'm not buying it.
I would say even in 6 months, I would be a little suspect.
Yeah. I'm not spending my own money.
The other thing I look at is shipping charges, which is something I pay attention to. I'm like, does this company offer free shipping at a threshold?
Yeah.
Or do they offer free shipping right off the bat for me to purchase maybe a shirt or a hat? That tells me a lot about them, because what is my barrier of entry to like this brand?
I get a lot of pushback on this, but depending on the company that I'm like helping, consulting with, I tell people, like, shirts and hats, let's give that stuff away like it's...
I would say in the beginning, you're looking like for that to be a break-even type thing.
Exactly.
If you're just starting out with the basics, you hope for break-even. Not year 1, not year 2 to everybody listening, but like you hope that you're bringing in enough of people that are buying the brand that you can give a lot of the brand away.
Exactly.
And that's, every company is going to be a little different, like you said, money-wise, but you can transform that into having the soft goods make you a lot of money, especially if you're in a hard goods business.
Have you ever ordered something and then when it shows up, you open the package up and there's just a hat that you didn't order or a shirt that you didn't order? It is like Christmas. Dude, it is. We both said the same thing. That tells you, like, the feeling you have is so much like,
you're not wrong.
I did not expect this. And that sticks with you. Like, I can tell you companies.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong, right? And so if you have that feeling, right, that puts a good taste in your mouth for that brand, for that company.
Like, there's a lot of companies that put that the Constitution in.
Yep.
I think that's really cool.
Genius. It's a beautiful, it's awesome.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Start putting an American flag in there.
I want to ask you this. What do you think the biggest failure is around the firearms defense industry that they could be doing right now that they're not? That's a question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah. I think the firearms industry is not taking advantage of the customer base that they already have. Okay. So much attention that I see is trying to go out and find new customers, new customer acquisition. Okay. Well, new customer acquisition is expensive.
Right.
And if you're a H&K and you're trying to go out and get people to switch over from buying Glock, It's not only expensive, but it's challenging,
Mm-hmm.
right? So why not focus on the customer base we have now and try and get them to buy more guns instead of new people, right?
I'm listening. Keep
Okay.
going.
So here's
I'm
my
with you.
here's my thought. And I haven't given this like a ton of thought, but it's, you know, as I talk to people about it, I think they need to focus on the people who already buy their guns, such as creating, like, for lack of a better term, micro influencers. Okay, so I don't care about how many followers you have. I don't care about your social media, but let's say you're a Glock buyer and you're a cop. Okay, why is Glock not sending Blue Lives Matters American flags and Back the Blue and with a Glock logo on it to every single person who buys their gun? Okay, because as more division is created in this country between law enforcement and people who don't support law enforcement, the line is you know, the divide is growing. Okay, so give those people something to be proud about. They back the blue, they support the blue, they support the Constitution, they support Glock. Okay, they're now on a team. They're part of that team. You want to tell people about the teams you're on. You want to tell people about the brands that support you and what you believe in.
Right.
You're creating micro influencers for the people who already buy and use your products. You now set up with those people, hey, you know, for every 8 people that you, Mr. You know, police officer, for every 8 people that you refer to buy a Glock through us, we're going to give you, you know, a new Gen 5 Glock 19 or whatever, right? It costs $35 to make a Glock.
Oh, God.
You get 8 people to buy Glocks at $650 a piece all day, right? And if you've got the Back the Blue, you know, sticker, and you're a cop, and your duty weapon is a Glock, it's like you have all the credibility there, right? And now you're just trying to get people to join your team. Okay? You're using the people that already use your products to sell your products. And that's just kind of a, you know, quick off the cuff example, but it's like, it's not rocket science.
No, and you're right. It's not rocket science. I think there's barriers with, as far as the question, which is like, what can they do right now? That's a great day one implementation. You're basically getting at a loyalty program.
100%.
And I agree with you. I think that there's just total failure to produce quality loyalty programs in and around the industry. Nothing like fitness. You know that. Nowhere near. In fitness, you can earn discounts, points. There's way better systems. And I think the thing that they could be doing right, if we're talking about on a brand level, not on an industry level, on a brand level, I think we could be doing a lot of things in the loyalty space. Yeah. And we could be doing much better in it. And I think that leads to the ultimate, which is the paywall, right? If you can get to the paywall. And if you can get people to pay $4.99 or $9.99 a month to view your content. And I agree, it's layers. That's not for every brand. That's not for every light company, every lube company, smaller divisions. But if you want to be like Daniel Defense, Daniel Defense should have a paywall, streaming, everything.
Yep.
I love Marty. He should have that. That with the money they have and what their capabilities are in that building.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You and I could tear it apart.
Dude, so much brand loyalty, too.
Yeah, so much. And they're already in every FFL. They should literally have a channel that an FFL can put on in their thing. I mean, this is a company that spends thousands of dollars on urinal cakes at SHOT Show.
Yep.
You and I could go in there and tear that place apart and do all that stuff. And that would be the smartest play because the media entity would be worth money at that point.
Yeah. Yep.
And it wouldn't be hard to do.
And honestly, the hunting and outdoor industry is the same way.
Now,
you know?
What's going to happen in the industry as it starts to gravitate from the dumpster to actually figuring out how to do real marketing, they're going to get into streaming. But the mistake they're going to make, Austin, in the beginning is they're going to try to make their own in-house superstars, you know, at every turn. Yep. So they're going to get disenchanted with it, and it's going to be like a 10-year cycle. When what they should be doing is, because I know what's going on, even at, you know, WPSN, and there's a lot of people out there right now that are like just Instagrammers, and they're trying to figure out what to do. They're looking for the lifeboat. You know what I mean? And they're seeing things like WPSN, they're seeing things like streaming, and they're trying to get a show. But what do?
Yeah.
What's the show?
Right. Yeah.
There's nothing. There's no there.
Yeah.
And it's too hard to go reteach them. But companies will try it.
Yeah.
And that's where they'll kind of fail. They'll bring people on because eventually it's going to go to long form. Can you do video? Because what does everybody ask now? Can you do video? Can you do video? Pretty soon it's going to be, can you do 10-minute video?
Yep.
Can you do a YouTube video?
Yep. Yep.
And I've said it 100 times. Every company should go to channeling, should go to programming on their channel. Mm-hmm. Have a CEO show.
Yeah.
We get updates. 6 a year, 8 a year. Have a show about your product. And have a guest base.
Look at Colin Noir and what he's doing in the industry. And I know some people love him, some people hate him. But hold on. Let's look at his space. Okay, look at his space. He comes from a legal background. Okay, he's a lawyer.
Is he practicing?
No, but he can give us a perspective in the industry that
is totally horrible.
Hold on, I'm not saying right or wrong. Okay, but think about this though. Think about the space. Okay, he can give us a perspective in the industry that some guy who works at Daniel Defense can't give us. Okay, why is that something that's not talked about more? I mean, it sounds like
you're right.
I'm talking
I know
about
what you're saying.
I'm talking about the channeling.
I know what you're saying.
Not every program needs to be, this is a gun, and this is the function, feature, benefit of this gun. Like, that would be old that fast.
And I have no issue with Colio. My only issue with him is he when you start touring factories and talking to people, and you start to position like the ammo crisis on hunters, and you're doing dumb, you're talking out of your depth. Yeah. You don't listen. You and I are on the phones every day. We know exactly what's happening in this industry, and don't walk a floor and all of a sudden try to be fucking Barbara Walters. Yeah. I don't know what that was. And it was uncharacteristic of him to an extent too. It was something he doesn't normally do, and I think he was just trying to jump in on that topic. Yeah. But you're not wrong in what you're saying in terms of the industry being open to hearing the different perspectives.
Right. Broadening the conversation.
Right. And I agree with that. And I'm a huge proponent of that. Do I think people always overstep their bounds into certain areas and certain things, and their take will be fucking dumb? Yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah. But I think you're right. I said this to many of the women I've had on the show. There needs to be a women's coalition. There needs to be a group that gets together regularly and talks. And at the shows, that should be something that's growing. I don't see a lot of that. I don't see enough of that. I know the minority community is coming on strong. Yeah. Having Tactical Carl in here Monday. Yeah. I've had multiple guys on speaking on behalf of the minority community in the firearms industry. That needs to be addressed. I'd like to see, and I think something that can be put in day one is at the shows, put some meaningful get-togethers together. Yeah. I know you would go. I would go. Totally. They have these people speak. I don't even know who they are. Yeah. They have speak. I don't even know who they are. Yeah. They have these people upstairs at NSSF, at SHOT Show. I'm teaching social media. I've never even heard of them. Yeah. I don't even know who they are. Yeah. And because they posted a picture on Instagram, they're experts. Right. That's the trip in the whole thing.
Dude, let's talk about the Dakota Meyer and all the beef with.
What's your take on it?
I don't care. I just don't care. I thought it was weird.
You got the deep breath.
Bro, I thought it was weird. I didn't like it. I'm not a guy. You're not going to look. Here's the thing. You're not going to look on my social media and find me doing what Lucas does, run around in full kit shooting. I'm not going to.
So we're all in agreement that we know who he was talking about, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's no secret, right? But.
Might have been another someone in there, but.
but yeah. Does he have the right? Absolutely. Absolutely. And, he's entitled to his opinion. Mm-hmm. He's absolutely entitled to his opinion. But kind of my take on the whole thing is I want to be left alone. I want to be able to own the guns I want, the gear I want, the kit I want. I want to train. I want to do everything that I want to do, but I want to be left alone. And that's the problem I had with it. You have Lucas on one hand who kind of like is pushing this, like everyone needs night vision goggles and everyone needs kit and everyone needs this and everyone and it's like, bro, like just relax. And then on the same time, you have Dakota who's like, stop playing G.I. Joe. If you want to be G.I. Joe, go join the military. It's like, in a sense, I think both sides are creating an argument that we don't really need.
It's an argument that doesn't need an answer.
It doesn't need an answer. Exactly. Yeah. It's an argument that I don't even know if should exist.
So
if you don't like what Lucas is doing, just don't pay attention. Don't follow him.
So to everybody listening that doesn't maybe know the story.
Oh, yeah,
so,
I guess I just...
I wanted to...
I was fired up about this for like a week.
Listen, so Dakota Meyer, who's a former congressional Medal of Honor holder.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dakota.
Absolute hero.
Yeah, absolute hero. 100%. It's not even a question.
I've met the guy once. Nice
guy.
Awesome.
It's just the whole bit.
I'm not dogging him.
No, it's not that. Because here's the thing. We all know who he was talking to.
Yeah.
So here's what it is. I think that there's a desire to be relevant by everybody. Mm-hmm. Okay, we all have it. We all possess this desire to be heard, right? To have the microphone or whatever. And I think when Dakota put that Instagram reel or IGTV, whatever it was, out there, excuse me, I'm having a soda, so I got the burps. But he alienated a group because of the way it came off, in the way that it was said. And I'm paraphrasing. He made it sound as if you were training in gear that you didn't use in a combat nature. You were out of line, or it wasn't your place, or whatever. You were just a LARPer, all the terms. Being in the industry, Austin and I on this show right now, we know who he was talking to. There's a group of 2 or 3 people that he's speaking to in that post. And I think he could have framed it another way, and it would have made a lot of sense to a lot of people. Like something like, hey, to a lot of you guys that are out there training, I think that's awesome, and I think that you should participate, but just remember the people that actually did it. Yeah. Something like that.
Or try to start a dialogue.
Or start a dialogue.
Try and start a dialogue.
Do I think, of course, on all sides, people overstep their bounds, people say things that they shouldn't say, or they come off their take as bad? Yes. Yeah. That is a problem in the industry. Yeah. Okay. There's always been this air of the classically trained guy, or what I call formal training. Like you've been to an academy, there's those guys. Then there's the special forces guys. Then there's always been that tiering structure. Mm-hmm. Now I've actually worked in the business and cashed a check. I've actually worked at companies that had federal contracts and cashed a check. I've actually worked on weapons and development and cashed a paycheck. I see a lot of those guys as end users, okay? So how my brain works, and when people hear me go like, oh, when Corleone's name comes up, or certain people, it's because I see them for what they are. Yeah. He's a lawyer, and he's a pundit, and he's supposed to go on TV and talk about firearms. I see everything for what it is, and if you're an ex-military guy, hey, you're an ex-end user of our products. That's great, awesome. Mm-hmm. But they're, as far as being a part of this industry, they're no more a part of the industry than they are when they're in. Yeah. There's all different sides to it. I'm not a part of their industry. Now, coming from a guy who's been through academy life and understands formal training and gets all those things, I get where he's coming from. Yeah. I get it. Because there's a component in me that understands giving back, whether you're coaching a high school football team, volunteering your time, or doing some type of civic duty. A lot of those guys are able bodies, and a lot of those guys that serve think that they should go serve too if they're going to do that. Now, I'm also from Boston, and I got a little street in me. There are people that perpetrate. Yeah. Don't misunderstand. Yep. There are people that stretch it. But where do you draw the line? Right. That's the thing, Austin. Where's the line? And I think the line starts to come in when you're trying to be something you're not.
Sure. I get that. And I can respect that.
Like if you're a badass, and where I'm coming from with that,
yeah.
And I'll say it, if I'm T-Rex Arms and I'm out there and that's what I like to do, mill sims and stuff like that, and I love it, good luck, God bless, you be the best at that.
Yeah.
But know that that's what you are.
What's funny though is, who probably benefited through all of that is the industry.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all the industry cares about is the bottom line.
And here's
they could care less. The industry could care less who's arguing about them on the internet. But now suddenly you have this big debate about body armor. You have this big debate about night vision. You have this big debate about, suppressors and everything else. Now all of a sudden you have maybe all these guys who for years have just owned a firearm.
Right.
And now they're like, wait, maybe I should look into buying a suppressor, right? It was good from a bottom line standpoint, it was good for the industry. I just don't know if the conversation necessarily was good for the industry.
No, and here's the thing. This is what I explain to all those guys, any of those guys that have that closed-minded approach to things. I said, look, you're never going to win that because everybody likes numbers to go up.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't win that. That shouldn't be a fight you want to win. Right. But I think there's this elitist mentality that will eventually go away. And we've seen this, and we've been around this business long enough. It goes in cycles, and usually the industry is affected by the theater of war we're in at the time, obviously. And we haven't been in one for a while, and we're not going to be probably in one for a hot minute. It's going to be a minute, especially under Biden. But he's far from hawkish. But the reality is, the industry will shift. You will see the shift more towards that civilian side. Yeah. And what are you going to do? Run around and tell everybody they can't because they're not enough?
Right.
They're not enough. Yeah. Now, a lot of that problem starts at the top. And I've said this, Austin, for a really long time. This is the only industry in the world where you go and you turn on Fox News and they don't have an industry head talking. There's no one speaking about the industry from an FFL perspective, and they're the ones that are actually, their money is actually affected. So to me, the biggest failure in this industry comes from Fox News, comes from the top. Yeah. I'd want to see an FFL owner that's losing money. Mm-hmm. I want to hear from an FFL owner that these laws actually will affect them day one. Day one.
The problem is people think that the NRA is that or should be that, and it's not.
No.
Right? The reality is it's not. That organization's a mess. It's no, like, if you're a gun owner in this country,
can't tell you where to send your money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I asked Tom Taylor that from SIG, and he couldn't even answer it.
Yeah, what do you do? Gun policy? Gun policy I think is great, but it's very localized. Right? Mm-hmm. It is a niche, and I think they're doing a lot of good things. But it's like, what do you do?
It's scary.
It's tough, man. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
I've said this many times, and I'm mad we're getting to this later into the show, but I'll get into it. We're doomed to fail. We're doomed to fail. Yeah. In our lifetime, yours and I's, we'll see it go down. Yeah. It'll start to go downhill. Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with the messaging and where it comes from. You've been around a long time. You've been doing marketing for a minute, and you're smart. I consider you smart. I don't throw that around. Does it make any sense whatsoever when you're trying to explain why gun rights are important? Civilian firearm rights in the United States. Does it make any sense to have a Navy SEAL on to speak about that?
No.
And the reason I say no is because an FFL shop owner that's in his 60s that's going to lose all his money, if that was that Navy SEAL's father, or they would want them to, because it's going to affect them day one. We put the wrong people in front of the microphone. Right. And we do it all the time. Yeah. And I've seen it where they have the argument, AR-15 stands for Armalite rifle, not assault rifle. It's the wrong argument. It's the wrong debate. Yeah. We get into the wrong debates, and we have the wrong people having the conversations. Tucker Carlson just did a piece. He was out with Hickok 45. They were out on the range. Yeah, I saw it. The fuck does that do? Yeah. Yeah. Tucker, you want to do a compelling piece? Go do a piece on all the FFL owners. And how the gun laws affect them. Go to California and ask them about the waiting period. Ask new gun owners about the waiting period. Don't show me a range day with Hickok 45. No offense to Hickok.
And the other thing is, our argument is always on the defensive.
Always.
We spend all of our time trying to defend ourselves and defend our right and defend this and defend bump stocks.
It's fear and defense.
Right now, it's defending pistol braces. Tomorrow, it's going to be defending suppressors. And then it's going to be defending 30-round magazines. And then that's all we do. It's like we can't gain any ground because we're trying to defend losing ground. It's like we need to be able to organize so that we can go back on the offensive.
Well, because the marketing of those entities is always fear-based and not educational-based, sooner or later the fear starts to run out. Yeah. And, fear works. It's a great fundraising tool. But if you're not educating the new crop coming up, and you're not getting in their face and supplying them with the data and the facts and having a medium to reach them, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Because, as you know, being a marketing guy, the medium is everything, too. How are we going to reach those people? Right. You know, does the NRA think for 1 second any of the 16 to 25-year-olds that'll be your base in 5 or 8 years or 10 years? Do they think they're looking at pamphlets that come in the mail?
Right.
Do you think they care about a free pouch?
Yeah.
I don't see that.
It's interesting, too, because I know for my generation coming up, a lot of the fear, and even still that's kind of being used, a lot of the fear has been in like the school shootings.
Right.
The school shootings, the domestic terror, that thing. You know, it's like when you look at what's his nuts, I don't even remember his name, but the Aurora, Colorado shooter, right? Like they use that all the time. But like, well, he used an AR-15. He was a movie theater shooter. He, you know, like civilians shouldn't have access to this stuff. Like that is the fear-based argument. A lot of times comes back to schools and mass shootings in public places and those things. Well, what else?
Right.
It's like if the argument is so focused on that, it's like, why are we not talking more about red flag gun laws?
Because they don't even know how to reach the people, Austin. That's the problem. Is they don't have. So think about this. The NRA's post Ackerman McQueen, right? How would they reach you to even give you that message? They don't even have a platform to reach. So think about it. If they had to get a message out, how would they do it?
Yeah, they're too busy fighting their bankruptcy case right now. Man.
So there's not enough. Companies don't think that way.
Yeah.
Like if I asked 20 companies in the firearms business right now, how would you do a video release?
Dude.
How would you get that out there? If you had to.
Yeah.
They would be like, huh? What?
Just put it on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, 3 subs?
Yeah.
Because they haven't built anything.
Yeah.
They don't want to build those platforms.
Well, I mean, we spend so much time looking back into the past, okay? So we spend so much time saying like, well, this is how we did it in the 90s, or this is how we did it in 2000. This is how we reacted, to the Clinton in the 90s, and it's so focused on the past. And that's what drives me crazy and it goes back to the school shooting thing. It was like all of the attention is like, this is the way we've always done it. This is what happens when politicians try to do this.
Right.
Instead of moving forward and like, we know what's coming. Okay. We absolutely know what's coming. We know they're going to go after high capacity magazines. We know right now they're going after pistol braces. If they go after pistol braces, what's the next thing? Right? The gun industry,
think they'll tax ammo.
Well, the problem is the gun industry is going to try and find a loophole. Right? The pistol brace was a loophole to the SBR. They're going to try and find a loophole instead of going after
this guy Chipman wants to take everything.
Bro, it's insane.
He's nuts.
Dude. It's insane. And the gun industry is just it's going to happen.
Is he a weird looking dude or what?
Moron.
He's a weird looking cat. He definitely looks like he's got some fucking 8-year-olds in his trunk.
I do not like him at all. I watched that Senate briefing or whatever it was.
Oh, he's a different dude.
Cringe.
He's a different cat.
I do not like that at all. But my fear though, like I said, is that the gun industry is going to let it happen and then find the loopholes, find the ways around it, find the next pistol brace. And that is not the answer, dude. We know where this is going. It might not happen in the next year, 2 years, 4 years, but it's going to happen. That's where we're going.
I agree.
I'm hot. Dude. I'm
you are
mad about this.
I think we're in a lot of trouble. And look, in our lifetime, I think we'll lose the rights because of a lot of the topics we're talking about. Now, the news, nothing works in our favor, mainstream. And I don't even think we help ourselves, like I said, on our own platforms in the mainstream.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean in news outlets that are supposed to support us and love us, because our industry gets lumped in with too many sub-industries.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about the Second Amendment. Let's put a cop on. Oh, we're talking about the Second Amendment. Let's put this one on.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to the people I'm referencing at all. It's honestly just, I wouldn't get on camera and talk about something I'm not familiar with or haven't fought side by side with somebody on or had my job in jeopardy over. You either have lived that, you either cleaned toilets or you didn't.
Yeah.
So to me, we get it wrong even at the national level. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I do wish the industry would fix some of those things that we've talked about, especially at the SHOT Show level, at the conversation level, so people can get together and start to have dialogue. And that's what it's all about. I'm stunned. Like, I'll give you an example. You're a marketing guy.
Good. Give me this one, and then I got another hot take. I'm about to hammer down.
Here's a hot take. This is how fucked up this industry, and I brought this up on this show. Look at the guests I've had on. I've never been asked for one clip by the NRA or anybody.
Yeah.
Think about how nuts that is.
Yeah. Yeah. shout out NRA. Ask for some clips, please.
Yeah.
No, here you go. Think about this. Okay, so we have this massive war on drugs, right? 80s, 90s, all that. Clearly is not working. And now the big push is let's decriminalize it and legalize it, which I happen to support. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Okay, so we have champions of this proposal in Congress. They're talking about it regularly. They just keep chipping away at it, right? Marijuana is now legal and medicinally in like 47 states, and right, it's like kind of step by step. They're on the offensive. They have champions in Congress who support it, and they're on the offensive, and it's going that direction. I think we all know eventually the federal ban on marijuana is going to get overturned. And then once that happens, it's probably just going to lead to, whatever. Who knows? But we can very clearly look at that and see where it's going.
See it.
Okay. The problem with the gun industry is we think we're getting these champions of the industry. Take what's his nuts from Texas, former Navy SEAL. Can't think of his name.
Not Ritalin.
No, he's got the patch. He wears the trident on his patch. Can't think of his name.
Oh, Jeff Gonzalez?
No, he's a house rep from Texas.
Oh, Crenshaw.
Crenshaw, thank you.
Yeah, Dan.
We get these people that we think are going to be our champions. We're like, yes, we're getting a guy who's a former Navy SEAL, and I'm not. There's nothing against Dan, okay? But we get these guys we think are going to be our gun rights champions, and we're like, yes, this guy's going to stand up for us. He's going to stand up for our rights. And then they go and they get into a system that is so broken and institutionalized. And it's like when you get in, man, you just get in your lane, you stay in your lane, and we don't go anywhere.
Or you see.
But why is the... Like,
all right.
But...
Wait. Full disclosure. So because I'm loosely involved in some politics.
Sure.
On a certain level. Part of the problem is we don't strike when we should.
Yeah.
So
That's what I mean.
when we had
forward.
I'll give you a perfect example. When we had the House and we had the ability to pass stuff, we went for some wacky silencer suppressor legislation, right? Which was the wrong move. We should have went for national reciprocity at that point.
Boom.
We tried to pass a piece of legislation, and I've had the guys on that wrote it. I had Representative Stubier on, from Florida. That was the wrong piece of legislation to go for at that time. Valiant effort, and I'll take anything. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying we should have went for national reciprocity at that moment. The Suppressor Act was a little too probably confusing to a lot of people. People didn't quite understand it, and there wasn't the right people in the room when those decisions were being made, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion. People can disagree with me, respectfully. But I look at it more as political capital. You only have so much, and when you use it, it's gone. And you have to earn it back, and we had political capital at that point.
But what's more important?
To me, national reciprocity.
No, I mean, you're right. We have only so much political capital we can use, and we only have so much time to get those things done, right? But how many more things out there are more important than an eroding Second Amendment? Seriously.
Well, here's the thing. Historically in society, I don't want to say all societies, in our society, at least, we see the world as we have it, we're okay. Fuck the generation after us or whatever.
Yeah.
And we literally operate that way. I mean, we kick the can down the road with a lot of shit. So in knowing that we kick the can down the road with a lot of shit, why would firearms be any different? So they horse trade their political capital in the 2A space to accomplish other things, to get other types of pork.
Yep.
Because the Second Amendment right, like the First Amendment right, is a pure right. And it should never be fucked with.
No.
Okay? Yep. The First and Second should never be fucked with. But we exhaust it. We're willing to we can cut a crumb off. We can cut a corner.
Yeah.
And what happens is...
give a little here.
We start to unravel.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of other amendments that you could do that with without it being catastrophic.
Right.
But in the Second Amendment world, because they're fixated on changing the product through legislation, they feel they can chip and they can erode, and that can be... Because what else would they say they do? It's job security, Do you really think, here's a greater question, do we really think Democrats care about gun laws? Do we really actually in their soul believe that? I mean, I think some do.
Not. For the most part, no.
But I think it makes them look really good when they raise their fist and they say, we're coming for their guns.
I think it's an appeal to the base.
It's an appeal to the base.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And most of the time, why do you think Clinton was the best thing that ever happened to guns in terms of selling them?
Yeah, him and Obama.
Obama was the best thing that ever happened. So people have like we used to joke the Trump slump in the gun business. Yeah. And people have a misunderstanding. But then when they get there, they don't do anything.
Right.
You know, it's not like they pass any groundbreaking legislation.
John, that's exactly what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need a champion in Congress who's going to stand up for those rights. And I think for the most part, I'm not speaking for everyone because I don't know, but for the most part, they talk about it as a way to appeal to the base because they know how many millions of gun owners there are out there and hunters and all those things.
And they all do it.
They all do it. But the reality is like, why have we not repealed the NFA? Like, why? Like, why?
It's $200.
It's $200.
It's $200.
Dude.
That's really what it is.
It's like, come
I hate to say it's $200. $200 is $200.
Right.
You know.
But once you start that tax, when is the government ever just like, yeah, you know what? Like, we don't need that tax money.
Here's what I tell. People always call me. They say, "What should I buy?" I say, "Buy magazines." They're like, "Why?" I'm like, "They'll never be cheaper than they are right now." I'm like, "Buy mags and ammo."
Dude, mags and ammo.
I'm like, "They'll never be cheaper than they are right now, no matter what. Doesn't matter."
No. And I think you're exactly right. I think we're going to see a tax on ammo, a tax on magazines.
I think a tax on ammo is coming, and I think a high capacity restriction.
Yeah.
Because I see them going the route of being like, "Oh, you don't need drums.
Yeah.
You don't need those," and coming up with some type of national ban on that.
How many guns do you think you've privately sold or like gifted in your life? Realistically, if you had to guess.
Oh, probably 24.
That's it?
Yeah, probably about 24. I'm stingy.
Yeah,
I'm in the stingy phase of my career.
No, I get that. I'm probably similar, actually.
Yeah, 24, 25.
Now, multiply that by how many million? 40 million?
You're exactly, and that's the thing. Like, when people buy guns, nobody buys one.
It's insane.
And no one buys one. And it's a right people don't want to give back. And that's, Austin, something I've discussed on this show. So when people ask me, do you really think it's going to fail? I say the only way it's going to survive is the Democrats are too dumb because they constantly create competing narratives. So they have a competing narrative right now, right? They're very anti-law and order. Think about this. They're anti-law and order. Cops hate them. They hate cops. Let's call a spade a spade. Yep. That's what it is. Yep. So that's where we are. Who's confiscating the guns?
Yeah.
The military that hates you? Or the cops?
Seriously.
Because have you ever seen the scene in Braveheart when the Irish come walking across the field?
Yeah.
And then they just all shake hands with them?
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
Yep.
What do you mean I have to go kick in this door? I'm not kicking in my neighbor's door.
No. And dude,
it's not happening.
Hey, truthfully, you know what one of the best things that happened let me start over. You know what one of the best things to happen in Portland is? That entire riot police team just resigned yesterday.
That's awesome.
All 50 of them unanimously. It wasn't like half of them. It was unanimous. All 50 of them resigned and gave the middle finger to the city of Portland. They'll
never replace them.
No.
It'll take 10 years.
And I hope, and I have family in Portland. Like, I'm not speaking out of like anger or anything, but I hope they try and burn that city to the ground.
Well, I think you have a really weird situation brewing up in that Portland, Seattle, Pacific Northwest area. It's really strange. It reminds me a little bit of like Vermont. Like, it's almost like no man's land. Like, it's like people want lawlessness, but they don't want their shit destroyed, but they want to camp out in the middle of the street, but they want social programs, but they don't want to go to work. But who's going to pay the taxes for those social programs because they destroyed all the businesses? Right. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
The problem is, and this is a problem on the left with that narrative, is you've created a cycle.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to acquiesce to one of them.
Right.
Because you're not going to get all of that. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And people are already pushing back on the cancel culture woke thing. Yeah. And they're pushing back hard. Yeah. You know, Charles Barkley, all these people like, enough.
Yeah, finally.
And what you have is guys like Bill Maher, even that historically were notoriously left, are now stepping up and being like, you know, what are we doing here?
This is stupid.
Like, I haven't got my cancel list. So who's getting canceled this week? So it's really hard. And I think they have an uphill battle in that convincing game. Now, I see it like this. The only way we survive is because the left is dumber than we are.
Yeah.
Which is a possibility.
Very, very real possibility.
Very real possibility. And they're quickly, and when I use the reference, guys, political capital. They're quickly burning it up. He's already killed the pipeline in Pennsylvania. Yep. He's already losing approval rating. I think it's down like 11 points or something. I saw some ridiculous number out there. He's already getting tons of flack from the summit. I'm talking about Biden now.
Oh my God.
And it's painful to watch him. And listen, I'll make an official statement on it. To anyone in Congress, Democrats included, that thinks he's of sound mind, you need to get your head checked. Okay? You need to get your head checked because somebody needs to check on that guy. He's not okay. And I'm saying that from the heart. Like, he's not well.
All like conspiracy theory aside.
100% aside.
All conspiracy theory aside, do you think he is like an acting president position right now? Like, do you think Kamala is behind closed doors?
I don't think Kamala. I don't see. Here's the thing. I don't think Kamala even wanted the job because it's a dead end.
It's a figurehead.
And I don't think and I disagree with the theory that they went to her first. You know, they always say that. Yeah. I think they went to Michelle Obama first.
I do too.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
But I think Kamala.
I think people on the left wanted.
Yeah, and I think Kamala had to take it. You'd like to believe that the executive structure is such a machine that there's a lot of good people there. You know, there's people.
Yeah.
But I'm saying this as unbiased as humanly possible. In my lifetime, I liked Clinton a little bit. There were things I liked about Clinton. There was things I hated about him.
Economically?
Yeah, there were things I liked. Obviously, I like Trump, but he could hands down be the worst president of my lifetime. He's not good. And saying he's worse than Obama's. Yeah. And do I think he's dangerous is the better question.
Jimmy Carter 2.0.
Jimmy Carter was the worst. And he's marching at the door of insane inflation rates right now.
Exactly.
And that's what's going to be his undoing. Yep. No president has survived inflation.
Right.
Okay? Tell me a president that survived ridiculous inflation. You'd have a hard time. And with dropping job numbers, and people being willing to stay out of work, that's going to hurt him really bad. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't hurt him, and guys, this is the complete unbiased, what's going to kill him is people just want change, and they're going to find it in Congress. They're going to make changes. I think we win the House. The Senate might be a bit of a stretch. We're going to win a shitload of governorships, I think, because of obviously COVID. But it's going to be I don't think he's helped himself. I don't think a lot of the things he's done, and he's constantly doling around like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. Yeah. My big thing to the press, Austin, in this sermon, my big thing to the press is, how do you not talk about the border? It's like, that's, to me, at some point, someone's got to fire back on him with the whole border thing.
There's so many things right now that are off limits that just aren't being talked about. And it's kind of that like, well, it's out of sight, out of mind. And then you get Governor Abbott, who's like, you know what? We'll just pay for our own wall.
Right.
Did you see that? What was it? $250 million down payment?
Yep.
That is genius.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I think, I think the Pennsylvania coupled with the border thing is really going to come. She doesn't even want to go down there. She's petrified to go down there.
Yeah. It's been 90 days.
Yeah. She's petrified. Yeah. She does not want to go down there because she knows once she goes down there, she's tied to it.
Yeah.
And she has to acknowledge it. And they don't have a solution.
No.
And the Border Patrol doesn't want to help them.
How bad was her press conference though, where she was telling people the do not come?
Oh, she's arrogant. She's as arrogant as the day is long. She's not a good. She is a horrible person to talk to.
Dude, politicians they honestly drive me insane.
Her sense of entitlement and what she's owed. Wow.
Politicians drive me insane. There is just it feels like there's no accountability. Not only is there no accountability, but that like,
you ever notice she doesn't even want to acquiesce to answer a question?
She just does like the awkward laugh and throws
she's
her
like,
head back. And
what do you mean?
Like, oh.
We've been to the border.
Oh, she's
like
the worst,
like she doesn't want to answer the question.
She's the worst.
She's just playing the game.
She is.
And how anybody doesn't see through that is beyond me.
She's good at it, man.
But I don't think anybody likes her.
Yeah, she was polling at what, 2%?
Yeah, I don't think anybody likes her.
Yeah.
I think she's the least of their worries. She's not going to go to the border, and that's going to come back and haunt them. But he can't go to the border. He'll collapse. He won't make it. He wouldn't make it.
Did you see the video where he was test driving the new Ford, and you could see? Did you see? You know the video I'm talking about? You could see him at the steering wheel, and then behind him you could see a second guy, like a Secret Service or whatever, and he was at a steering wheel.
Do you think he's sick?
Oh man, I for a long time, I thought the right was using it as a political weapon, just to hit him with, because it was easy. And then now, just the more I watch him, the more I see it. I truthfully, and I'm not even a Republican. I think he is. I should say I'm not a Republican. I left the party. I'm a libertarian, and so I kind of feel like I can bash both sides equally.
And listen, I thought so too. I thought they were using it as a weapon in the beginning, and I said, okay, take a few jabs. But then I started listening back to some of his stuff, and he's a compulsive liar.
It's crazy.
And then like. Son.
Okay, yeah,
okay,
I need to call time out.
The son.
What is going on with Hunter Biden?
What's funny about that, and I haven't gotten deep into this, and some people who pay attention to the show understand my relationship with Don, with Junior. It's like, if that was ever him, oh my God.
Publicly executed.
If that was him or Eric.
Don Jr. gets publicly executed.
Oh my God, they would have hung him if he ever said any of that stuff. And look, I'm not saying it's time to gang up on the drug addict son, but let's call the son what he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a fucking degenerate.
Dude, it's like, first of all, the whole laptop thing was bad enough. Right?
And if you don't think he's selling something to make money off his dad, how do you think he makes money then? Please, let's.
The whole thing's insane.
Yeah.
All the Burisma stuff, the
selling access.
Contracts, it was insane. Don Jr. gets hung for that. Then you have the whole laptop deal, right? And that all just gets swept under the rug. It's like
the laptop from hell.
The laptop doesn't exist, right? And now it's like you have all the text messages and stuff of him like dropping the N-word.
Oh my God!
And then he's got the whole like,
and he's awkward too.
And then he kind of starts making. No, I shouldn't say making fun. He made a derogatory comment about Asian people in the latest one, and I saw Don Jr. say that. He's like, this is just out of control. And you have President Biden, who's like, he's the smartest guy I know. Do you remember that? Do you remember when he said that?
I was terrified when he did that.
I get trying to defend your kid and like standing up for your kids, but like, come on, we got to be real at some point. It's insane. The whole thing is insane. I feel like I've never believed we were living in a simulation, but it would make more sense now in what I've seen in the last year if this whole thing is just a big joke.
Oh my God.
It's got to be.
Are you going hunting anytime soon?
I just wrapped up bears.
How was that?
It was awesome, man. Killed a. I've been waiting for a black one. So in black bears, there's a lot of different colors. They call them color phases: blonde, cinnamon, chocolate, and jet black. And I've been waiting for a jet black, and I found one finally after several years of looking. Took a first timer out from Texas. First time out in the mountains. He had a blast. Totally opened his eyes. Texas is great. There's a lot of good stuff in Texas, but one thing Texas doesn't have is public land. And you get someone out in public land for the first time, they get to see it, experience it themselves, and they realize what they're missing. So
opening up hearts and minds.
Oh, dude, I love it.
So you got it?
Yeah, yep. He got his first bear, first
How
public
big?
land experience. It wasn't huge. It's probably 3 or 4 years old, I guess. It's a lot. Yeah, it's hard to guess weight on bears, but it's a lot easier to guess their age.
Now, did you taxidermy it? Did you guys get it out?
Yeah, took the whole thing out and took it to the taxidermist. Yeah, I love hunting.
Do you save the bear meat?
For me, it depends on the size.
Okay.
Bears in the spring don't have a ton of fat on them because they just came out of hibernation, and so they're super lean, which is good and bad. Depends if you use the fat or not. But yeah, they're good to eat, man. Because I don't know if you know this, but bears carry a parasite that causes trichinosis.
Okay. Oh, no way.
Yeah, and it's the parts per million in a bear is like, and so bears get it from consuming other animals. Trichinosis is something you have for the rest of your life, and it affects you for the rest of your life. Flu-like symptoms, makes you feel terrible, spend time in the hospital, and only way you can not get it is to cook it really, really hot, bear meat. So bear meat doesn't make good steaks.
Right.
It's not something you want to eat rare. It doesn't make good burger. It makes really good chili, stew, things you can put in on 500 degrees and just cook crap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like bear meat, but you got to know how to cook it so you don't get the trick.
Yeah, that was the thing with that's the thing with meat. Some guys will try to save every meat, and people don't understand that there's like hog hunting, for example,
Yeah.
because of the disease and some of them. I know that there are some shelters that we used to take some of the hogs to when we would go. They'd look at them. You know, there's some that you can't eat, but you try not to. You don't want to waste the meat. It's not about wasting the meat, and somebody always does use portions of it, but some of the meat's more gamier than others. It's not for everybody, but there's always somebody that'll take the meat. Getting it out is another story.
Yeah, man.
You know, depending on how deep you are in and what's around you and what could attack you, especially an animal of that size, it's pretty wild. And getting to go out like you did that's the fun. The fun's in the adventure.
I ended up shooting his bear. So he shot it, and it was laying down in a creek bottom. And I dropped into the creek, and I could see it down there. It was really dark, and all
you were
covered
spotting
and
him?
stuff. Yeah, and I creep in, and he was coming up behind me, and I was like, "Hey, man, I found your bear. You know, let's go look at it." And I had my trekking pole with me, which is like a walking stick, you know. And I poked the bear to make sure it was dead, and I turned back and looked at him. And then when I turned back to look at the bear had jumped up and was now like sitting up, like looking at me, you know. And I didn't have a sidearm with me or anything, so I reached back, grab his gun. He had the Glock 19X, handed it to me, spin back around, and as I'm raising the gun, I'm just thinking like, this is like a shoot now, or I'm about to get swiped because it's like 3 feet away, and just shoot the bear right in the forehead and end up putting down. The first time I've ever had an animal truly where I thought it was dead.
It was dead and still
popped back up, and yeah, first time I had to do that. But.
Yeah, especially if you're bow hunting, you need to have a good spotter.
Little pucker factor, man. Little pucker factor for sure.
Don't run up on it. Give it a little time.
Yeah, well, it'd been like 45 minutes.
It's not enough.
It's tough animal.
He's waiting in the weeds for you.
I know.
You would have had to pull a revenant if
I
you
was
had.
going to say, just pull out my knife and start fighting. That'd be something.
Now, when you're out there, you camp, obviously, right?
Yeah, I back.
How many days you go out?
Depends. That one was 4.
That's not bad.
No.
That's not too bad.
No.
It's not too stinky.
When you have to backpack all that stuff in, though, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, getting it out's another story. I heard a great story from a friend of mine a few years back about a bear, and he was trying to pack out a deer, and he was being stalked by a bear, and he had to abandon the meat. That's a great story. He was like, "Yep, it just didn't feel right." I said, "Stay in a little later, a little darker, a little later, a little darker," and he's like, "I had to get out of there, otherwise I would have been sleeping in the tree."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's always something, man. You always have to have your head on a swivel. You know, one year I had 2 mountain lion encounters, like close encounters, in a matter of, it was different mountain lions in probably 12 hours.
Don't you love when people are like, "How scared were you?" I'm like, "Well, I can't outrun it."
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, how scared are you?
Yeah.
And it's hard to shoot, right?
Yeah.
So
and the season was closed. So it was like I wasn't going to shoot one and try and claim
No,
have
but if
a
your life's
self-defense
in
argument.
yeah.
But yeah, it's always something, and you know, eventually you just kind of get to the point where it's like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I just need to be responsible, make good choices, and hope for the best. But
don't leave the food hanging out the pack.
Yeah, but definitely had some close calls.
So what's next for you?
A lot of hunting, building a house right now.
I like both those things.
Bought a 7-acre lot, raw land, building my own little sanctuary, and yeah, man. After the pandemic, I'd been thinking about moving and getting some space, and then after the pandemic, I was just like, I'm over this. I don't want to live in a city. I don't want to rely on other people for my power and my water, and so I got a well, and
I think that's what everybody's gonna do, though.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that's what a lot of people crave.
Yeah,
I still have a lot of city in me. Clearly, I like to be like at least on the outskirts, but I'm ready to move.
Yeah,
and I got the supplies, so
yeah.
I try to stay well armed.
Yeah.
So I prefer it that way. But yeah, no, I agree. I think more and more people are going to start to make the move, and we got NRA coming up. That'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So that's what's up for me. I'm just gonna keep hunting. I just like being left alone, honestly. I it's like I want to be in a space.
Yeah, but guys like you and I, especially, guys like you get pulled back in, like you'll be back in the muck.
I want to keep a foot in that I can jump in and out when I want, but at the same time, I love doing my own thing.
Yeah.
I love being left alone, in in a metaphorical standpoint and a realistic standpoint. Like I just want to have my own space.
I can be far away, but I gotta have like a couple stores close by. Like at least, I mean, I lived in Montana, so I get it.
Yeah,
you know, like up there, like the strip malls, like where it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's it.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I have to have a little bit of access. I'm not completely ready for off the grid life.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
I'm not completely ready.
I just want to strengthen my relationship with the outdoors, man.
I could eventually see myself like doing the show on the road, like doing something like that, or like whatever down the line. You know, if I wanted to, like take some time and do that, but we'll see.
You know, it'd be cool. Podcast live in front of an audience at SHOT Show.
You know,
have those hard conversations people aren't like really having right now in front of an audience.
I've done it at SIG. I've done it in the SIG booth. We've done collaborations where I've had the show in the SIG booth for a couple years. I like that. You know,
have Dakota, Meyer, and Lucas on at the same time.
I would do it
at SHOT Show.
Listen, the show Switzerland.
That would.
I would
awesome.
do it.
That would be
the
awesome.
show Switzerland.
That's a conversation that needs to be had. Mm-hmm. That would be awesome.
I mean, I volunteered to the NSSF. I didn't see anything. I would do whatever, you know, whatever they asked if they wanted to do it. You know, I have no problem with that. But, you know, and I've volunteered to do it free, even to the NRA.
Is the NRA president still the guy that has
Wayne.
the $5,000 suits?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. What's his last name again?
LaPierre.
LaPierre, that's right. I always want to call him the French guy.
Yeah, he's like a manufactured head, you know. He's like created in a lab. They give him like the political hairdo, and you know, and that's the problem with the NRA. It's a lot of people's nephews, a lot of people's cousins, a lot of, you know, you just have a huge mix of people that are kind of born into politics, and that's who's over there. And that's
didn't he get busted for like embezzling?
Yeah, well, no, they didn't
for the suits because he got busted for the $5,000 suits.
The suits thing was it was supposed to be a nonprofit, and he had some ridiculous budget for like drapes and suits and stuff like that, you know, which was all tied into the marketing and everything else. But my big thing with them is like, you know, they ended up spending like $4.5 million on the Georgia election, you know, and I just $4.5 million. Think about it as a marketer, right? What you could have built with half of that, you know what I mean, for them, and they could have a bigger voice, a stronger voice. They throw monies down these those were two horrible candidates.
Horrible candidates, man.
Horrible. And listen, and to both of them, it's not disrespect. We got the billionaire woman that no one was going to like because the governor nominated her and it was a Democratic governor. So they fed us a crappy candidate.
Served it up on a platter.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not going to play well in Georgia. Yeah. You know, so I see it more as the NRA has become so wrapped up in politics that it's lost the sight of its constituency.
Yeah.
And that to me is a fair statement. Mm-hmm. And I think if they reclaimed some of their constituency via media, they'd be better served.
Yeah. That's a great take. That's a great take, honestly.
That's how I see it.
That should be probably the NRA's motto.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder after this bankruptcy thing clears up if they're gonna have a little administration change.
No.
They probably should.
They won't.
They need to rebrand.
They won't. And there's too many people that are dying to get in there that don't even know how to make the changes.
Yeah.
That don't even know where to begin. I know. I've talked to enough people in the rooms.
It'd be interesting to look at their donor list and see if the number is shrinking, and then see of their, I shouldn't call them competitors, but like other firearms nonprofits out there, if theirs are growing, you know, like just see
their
what the numbers look like.
Yeah,
like the market share of the gun industry.
I think the NRA gets a very healthy, you know, amount of funding. I think part of the thing is how they spend it and what they determine are good spends. But I mean, I never understood the Ackerman McQueen thing and why they don't own the rights to anything that they were creating, like NRA TV and everything else. Like who did that deal? Like Stevie Wonder? Yeah, it was like the worst deal. You know what I mean? Like can you read a contract? Like what did you sign for all that money? Because you could have had a fucking kid out of college hold a camera and produce your content for, you know, it never made sense to me. And I don't know. I don't get it. It's very dated. It's very dusty. The whole approach is. And honestly, I think it's a lot of people have disassociated, and the people that are still hanging on to that teat, I think probably will go through some change. I don't know if it'll be a wholesale administrative change, but I think something's got to give.
I mean, here's the thing. We are at a point where in the next couple years, we're going to see dramatic changes one way or the other. And some of them I don't even think we really are going to see coming.
Right.
I think we should, but I think we're going to get caught off guard by some things probably pretty quickly.
Let me ask you,
I think we're going to see some dramatic
Let me
changes.
ask you this before I let you go. Who's doing it right?
Company-wise or individual-wise?
And throw an individual or two in there if you want. Who's doing it right?
Okay.
Who's a good follow?
Yeah. Outside the industry, I told you already, I think Sornex is doing a lot of things very right. Very strong. You know, they just got involved with the UFC. They've done, and again, if you don't know who they are, Sornex exercise equipment out of Columbia, South Carolina. Everything's made here in the U.S. They employ a couple hundred people, and it's raw steel coming in and world-class weight rooms coming out. It's fantastic. I think they're doing a great job, man. Fantastic job. I emulate a lot of what they do into what I do. In the industry, there's nobody jumps out at me.
Sig gets a lot right. I'll give Tom credit. I'll give Jason credit. I'll give Hannah credit. Sig gets a lot right, but they also have the means.
Yeah.
But they get a lot right. They throw a lot out there, but they get a lot right.
Can I say, okay. Kimber is an absolute dumpster fire right now.
Oh, Kimber's a mess.
Didn't I message you that?
Let's not talk about what we talk about offline.
I know, but I'm trying to remember.
I'm kidding.
We did, didn't we?
Yes.
Absolute mess.
What
is going on over there?
I was going to say, there's a couple brands that I don't even understand how these people are employed.
They're in so much disarray right
Kimber being one of them has always come to mind. They're a hot mess.
Absolute
They're marketed
disarray.
so poorly. Everything about it looks like hot garbage.
Quality control's gone out the window.
HK's an interesting one to me. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I'm a HK fan for the most part, but there's a lot of things I look at that I'm just like, they've gone too far. Okay, HK's kind of had this like brand mantra of making fun of poor people. Okay? Because their guns are the guns that like everybody wants, but not everyone can afford.
It's exclusive marketing.
It's very exclusive. I think they've gone a little far because
almost
to the point of just being assholes.
Yeah.
And I knew one of the guys. He's no longer there anymore, but he was in their social media team.
Oh yeah.
And this is a couple years ago, and he was like, I think he did a good job of balancing the humor aspect of it. Of like, everybody wants to shoot an HK, but not everyone gets to because you guys are poor, you know, whatever. And that's kind of funny, and I get it. But now, man, go read through some of the stuff they say to people, and I'm like, I just think they're going too far down the rabbit hole of embracing this, like, this message. I don't like it.
Well, when Derek was there, it was interesting.
That's who I was talking about.
I know.
Yeah.
I know where the bodies are.
You should go
but
back.
When he was there, he did add that humor and he had that lightheartedness. Do I think he pushed it for a clean brand? Probably, ultimately, right? Yeah. I think that was able to play off of each other and add some humanness to the brand.
Yeah.
I thinking about brands that do it right, I think, I mentioned Sig. I think about brands like Mossberg, right? Yeah. With a lot of potential. I see what they do, and I think that they get a lot right, and you never hear their name with anything bad. No. I mean, they could do a better job marketing their pistols and certain things. And so, like, when I look at these companies, there's intriguing ones out there that you're like, this is interesting. When we say dumpster fire, it's like, man, I'd love to go in there. The bones are there. Kimber has good bones. Yeah. It's just, you look at what they're doing, and it's like, who's running that place? The FN one always cracks me up. You know that. The FN one. And listen, FN's the biggest player in the game, but some of the jobs they post for, and whoever does their posting for the jobs, it's like, bro, there's guys like you and I that wouldn't even get a call back with like 20 years. It's like they're fucking weird. And
dude, I like Bull Kortzen. I know
Scott does awesome work.
I know they're involved with your podcast, but at the same time, like he's doing a great job.
Because Scott gets it, and he has a brain.
What I like about it is he's taking a spot in the market that nobody else is really filling.
And he owns it.
Filling it with a quality product and a great brand
He's
message.
got every good young shooter. Everybody knows him.
And they're pushing, we just went through, whether it's manufactured or not, an ammo shortage, right? What better way to push, keep shooting, keep training, keep practicing, but do it with a 22 round you can buy for a fraction of the cost.
Just reminded me, I got to text him.
Tell him I'm freaking giving him a shout out, because I think he's doing it right. I think he's doing a great job. And they're great. They're great rifles. They're great. I never had the interest in rimfire. I was always like, man, give me the bigs. Like, I want 300 Blackout. Give me a 50 Beowulf. Like, I want the big guns because they're fun to shoot. But then all of a sudden, it's like, wait, this is way too expensive.
I'm trying to get Scott to build me a 17 Hornet, a nice little screaming porch gun.
Yeah, dude, he makes one called the Black Mamba. Gun. The Black Mamba is one of the most, and they're aesthetically pleasing. Is the other thing. He makes some of the most beautiful looking weapons. I
got a suppressed one.
Do you?
Yeah, I'll show you.
The Black Mamba?
No. Oh, I got one of his rifles.
One of his rifles. Yeah, he's doing a good job. I think he is going to become. I think he's going to become a household name for guys who are rimfire shooters.
There's a couple moves I'm trying to convince him, and I know he'll listen to this, to do that I think would even his. I could see him taking on a bigger brand in a high-end space. I'm trying to choose my words very carefully here. In a high-end space that we all know.
Yeah.
And I'll explain it to you offline. But I think if he came out with this product, nobody would bat an eyelash.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be like, that makes sense. And they'd buy it.
There's very few things right now that I see that are like true innovation. And I think that's one of the problems. We're kind of stagnated right now.
I think in the soft goods space, we've seen a lot of innovation.
Soft goods is different.
Yeah.
But in the firearm space, when's the last time you saw something where you're just like, whoa, that is a game changer?
I would say this industry hasn't had a significant change since polymer.
Right.
That's,
like a true...
Since polymer came in.
Some type of innovation that just blew you away.
I would say since polymer, I would say bullet technology's improved a lot. I would say...
Long range for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, remember when it used to be like the shooting a mile?
Like if somebody asked me the biggest innovation the last, whatever many years, I would say the rise of the polymer pistol.
Yeah. Bullets was a great example.
Yeah.
Long range shooting. But there's nothing that's really just blown me away. And
I mean, I'll give a subtle tip of the cap to the 2011. I think the 2011 was a cool, and it was it truly an innovation. I mean, you went from a single stack to a double stack. It wasn't like mind blowing shit. It's a 1911 double stack at this point, but I think the 2011 was a very cool innovation. So I'll say that.
Yeah,
another one.
I'm hoping that our product designers and our engineers out there are kind of like feeling the pressure of some of the stagnation right now, and are like, sometimes like take that pistol we were looking at a few minutes ago, the Thunderstruck or whatever.
Oh my
Sometimes
God.
innovation isn't a good thing, right?
No.
Sometimes you try and think too far outside the box.
No.
But I think there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done.
I agree. Well, it's been an hour and a half. Let's wrap up.
That was fun, man. I love talking marketing with people who get it.
Listen, I love having you.
Thanks.
You know that. You're welcome anytime. I know this is like a dual vacation business type trip, so I didn't want to kidnap too much of your time.
Super cool.
I appreciate you coming in. It means a lot.
Yeah, dude.
Let everybody know where they can find you, how they can reach you, and how they can get in touch.
Easiest place to get a hold of me is just social media. It's Austin, AUSTIN, Legg, LEGG. Send me a DM or something.
I want to go on a hunt at some point.
Let's do it.
Yeah, this is me DMing you now.
Yeah, got it. DM received.
This is my DM
received.
So, all right, listen, I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to obviously see you at NRA. Mm-hmm. That goes without saying. That's probably when we'll see each other next.
Shot, SEMA.
I'll
be down.
SEMA would be great.
I'll be at SEMA.
Yeah. Let me know about that.
Yeah.
When are they doing that?
November.
Yeah. This is October, November. And that's on its regular schedule, right?
Yeah.
It's going back to regular
capacity, regular schedule. Vegas is back, baby.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about that. SEMA is a great event. I appreciate everyone. I want to give a quick shout out to all the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out a complete list of the sponsors there. They're all listed down below. All the links are active. Go click them. Go support some of the brands. One of them I want to call attention to is Advanced Warrior Solutions. They make some awesome bags, guys. Go check them out. Please go check out Advanced Warrior Solutions. Enforce Weapon Lights. Go check them out. Appreciate Enforce. Appreciate everything they do for the show. And, of course, Pulsar. Thermal imaging technologies coming down in price. Go check out Pulsar. Appreciate all the sponsors. Can't do it without them. Need you guys. Leave reviews. Do a terrible job asking for reviews. I need reviews. Appreciate everybody who leaves them. Tap thumbs up. Share this with your friends. And go subscribe to the show on Warrior Poet Society Network. Shout out to John Lovell and the crew over there. Use the code Bartolo and save. I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate everyone who tunes in the show. We're out.